Let's talk about what we're going to see today and what we saw Friday. It looked to me as if Lucy Castay, probably from the left, her name is out of the frame when it comes to being the next Prime Minister. Are we going to see any more progress today? What is the latest update?
We're exactly 50 days since the results of these snap elections actually delivered a hung parliament with no one having a majority in the French parliament. And today, Emmanuel Macron is continuing the discussions first with the president of the National Assembly this morning, this afternoon, the president of the Senate, and right in the middle, late morning, the most important meeting, of course, with the National Rally leaders, Marine Le Pen and Jordan Bardella. Now, remember, last month, they were supposed to come first in those snap elections, something that actually scared the markets for several weeks, but they ended up with the third bloc, 143 seats. So still a big bloc, but still very far from a majority. And Macron has already promised he will not name a prime minister from either the far right or the far left. That's where it gets very tricky because, as you know, the new Popular Front, this alliance of left wing, actually got the biggest bloc in parliament with 180 seats. They did these meetings as well with Emmanuel Macron on Friday, and their chosen candidate for Prime Minister, Lucy Castay, 37-year-old economic advisor to the Paris mayor, has been everywhere in the French media over the summer, even though she doesn't really have the legitimacy, given she's not an MP, but she's backed by all the parties, including the far left. Now, that's where it gets even trickier, because Emmanuel Macron has said, I don't want to name anyone where you have the risk of having a far left minister within the government, because they're going to face a vote of no confidence. But on Saturday, Jean-Luc Mélenchon, the far left leader, said he would actually support Lucy Castay as prime minister, even if there is no far left minister in the government. So basically, Emmanuel Macron is caught in his own trap because he didn't put the program of the NFP at the center of the debate, but rather the presence of some far left ministers. So technically, he doesn't have much choice at the moment if he wants to respect the will of the vote of the French last month.
Well, Caroline, walk us through the timeline here then, because it feels like, of course, we had this grace period with the Olympics, this idea that we need to kind of focus on that first. Now, what are the deadlines? Is there even one, or is there a ticking clock in terms of making this decision?
Yes, Emmanuel Macron had talked about an Olympic truce, but the Olympics finished a couple of weeks ago. The Paralympics start on Wednesday night, so he's got a very small window of a couple of days to potentially name a new prime minister, because on Thursday morning he's actually traveling to Serbia for an official trip. So either he names a new prime minister over the next couple of days, or perhaps he waits until after the Paralympics on September 8th. But a lot of the political leaders are pressing him to act quickly and to deliver a new prime minister quickly, because there is one deadline, which is October 1st, where France has to present a new budget. So technically, they need a few weeks in order to prepare that new budget, especially when you are in a situation when France has been placed under an excessive deficit procedure by the EU Commission and needs to give some answers on the budget to the EU Commission by the end of the month. Of course, the last thing that Emmanuel Macron wants is to name someone who then immediately faces a vote of no confidence and then create potentially even more political chaos.